not the tech.
How's it going, guys? Jonny with Wolverine Airsoft here. I'd like to discuss today with you the differences between our various engine offerings as well as the electronics and accessories that go with those. There's been some confusion that we've seen here, especially recently on Facebook and some of our other social media outlets, and we just wanted to clear things up for our new users, as well as some things and some questions that some of our older users might still be struggling with. So we wanted to just clarify those, and if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on our Facebook feed or tech@wolverineairsoft.com. Alright guys, the first engine we're going to look at here is our SMP. Now the SMP was launched in the summer of 2014, and we had a good strong run with the SMP. It's our single moving part patented technology. So in this entire engine there's only one moving part during the operation, and that's the nozzle here that moves back and forth. Some characteristics that you may remember about the SMP, for those of you that have been with us for a long time, is the external airline here, as well as the set screw retentions for the two halves of the engine that will allow you to do periodic maintenance. Now the SMP came in the characteristic orange color that you see here. We also had a couple different runs. We had a light blue one in the fall of 2014, followed by the green SMPs that you may remember from our 12 Days of Christmas giveaway campaign that we did in December of 2014. We also had a copper edition and a two-tone copper and black edition that came out as well. All of them functioned exactly the same. They all use the same technology. The only difference there was the color. So whether you find yourself with a blue SMP or a green SMP or a copper SMP, I don't think we had any other colors other than those, but that's strictly cosmetic. There's also a slight variance that you notice from some of the later design SMP or batch designs from the early one, is that you had this additional screw here. That was merely a production thing, and we changed that so that you no longer had that on some of the later iterations. Again, did not change the effect of the SMP at all. It was strictly from a production standpoint why we removed that. Alright, so the SMP allowed users to have a drop-in cylinder replacement for their AGs in their V3 and V2 gearbox guns. You had also the capability of your support weapons like your M249s or your M60s being able to use the SMP engine as well. Next up, we had Hydra. Hydra was released in June of 2015, and with it, we entered the realm of allowing users to have the offset nozzle capability. So now, those of you that wanted to convert your G&G M14s or your TM M14s or your P90s or your Tavors, SVDs, and several others into HPA Monster, you were able to do that with the Hydra. Now the Hydra you recognize with the characteristic green anodized with the black accents. You had toolless disassembly, and with that, a more robust design that helped advance the innovation of Wolverine Airsoft into the next generations. Shortly after Hydra was launched, we introduced Inferno on the world. Now Inferno uses the same toolless disassembly that Hydra did, and with that gained you the ability to change your V2, V3 setup into the same technology that allowed you to have the Hydra in the offset. So you could actually take a Hydra front end, remove the front end cylinder portion of your Inferno Gen 1 and screw it on, and now your Inferno Gen 1 could drop into any of your V6 or V7 builds. It should be noted that the same SMP single moving part technology was used both in the SMP, the Hydra, and now in the Inferno as well. With that, we decided that there really wasn't much reason to keep the SMP along, because it was basically the same thing that offered the same amount of performance and everything that you got with the Gen 1 Inferno, and so we decided to discontinue the SMP, and that was the fall of 2015 that we said goodbye to the SMP. Summer of 2016 was an exciting year for Wolverine Airsoft. We introduced the bolt cylinder replacement for VSR-10 and VSR-10 clone sniper rifles, spring sniper rifles. And what this allowed for was our users to be able to drop in one of our engines using the same robust technology that we've come to be known for into their spring VSR and Bar 10 clones and greatly improve their game. There's a lot of benefits to converting Springer to Wolverine Airsoft's bolt, and that's covered in another What the Tech episode that Rich did. We can throw up the link here, and you can watch the video on the bolt to get more of the information. So for the purpose of this video, we wanted to keep it more simple and just explain a couple of the differences between the bolt from the other engines. So this uses a different industrial valve. It's not the same valve that goes into the SMP. It was one that was actually developed strictly for Wolverine Airsoft by Mac. With it, allowed us to develop our patent pending AirSaver technology. What the AirSaver technology does is allow for greater efficiency out of your engine, and it also, because it's firing from a fixed volume of air, greatly simplified the electronics, which we'll get to in the electronics section of this video. Another difference here is the cylinder heads. The only difference in the cylinder heads, though, is very slight, and that only comes to bear for our TM VSR-10 users who do not want to use the Wolverine Airsoft replacement cylinder, but want to use their existing TM spec cylinder. The threads on the VSR, the Tokyo Marui spec that is, are slightly different from the JG thread spec, which is what most brands have used. So if you don't have the TM spec, or you do have the TM spec but you're using the Wolverine Airsoft cylinder replacement, you don't need the VSR 10. What you need is the JG Bar 10, which comes standard with the bolt, and it also comes standard with the bolt with cylinder. The only difference is the threads are different, so there's absolutely no difference in the performance between the two different cylinder heads that Wolverine Airsoft offers with the bolt. Summer of 2016 was also exciting for the innovation of HPA technology through Wolverine Airsoft with our release of Inferno Gen 2. A lot of the benefits and comparisons between Inferno Gen 2 and Inferno Gen 1 are covered in another movie video that we did, and Peter can throw up the link here. Alright, so we'll throw that link up on this video so you can actually see a more in-depth comparison, but for the purpose of this video I just want to show the difference between the Inferno Gen 1 and the Inferno Gen 2 kind of side by side. Now you'll notice at rest, without air connected, the Gen 1, the nozzle is able to move freely. Because of the hybrid design, the Inferno Gen 2, at rest, the nozzle is forward, and that is due to the spring-assisted two-part nozzle that allows for the staggered effect of the Gen 2. Again, you can watch the video on the Gen 2 to learn more about that. The same industrial strength valve that was used in our SMP and our Hydra and our Inferno Gen 1 is carried over and also used in our Inferno Gen 2. One difference that we did, and this may be useful if you're considering on upgrading your grip line, is that on the Gen 2 we use a smaller barb, threaded barb fitting for the airline entering the engine. So on Gen 1 you have the larger diameter, on Gen 2 you have a slightly smaller diameter. So If you're ordering an airline replacement for the Gen 2, you want to specify that you have a Gen 2. If you are ordering a replacement for your Gen 1 engine, you want to, at the time of ordering, to specify to your dealer that you need it for Inferno Gen 1. Alright, so as a quick recap, for your centerline nozzle users, you have the S&P, single moving part. You have your Gen 1 Inferno, and you have your Gen 2 Inferno. Gen 1 Inferno and your S&P use the same single moving part technology, and the Gen 2 Inferno uses the new Wolverine Airsoft patent pending hybrid technology. For spring sniper users, you have your Bolt drop-in engine. For offset, such as V6 and V7 engines, you have Hydra Gen 1 and forthcoming Hydra Gen 2. Alright all, I hope this has been a helpful video for you all. If you do have any questions, please feel free to hit us up on our Facebook under Wolverine Airsoft. You can also send an email to tech@wolverineairsoft.com. And from there you can ask questions on specific builds that you're working on or thinking about working on. If you have any other questions, you can either place them in the comment section of this video. We'll try to get back to you as best as possible, or you can message us on Facebook. I hope I have been concise enough for you all. I understand there's a lot of information here, and I do apologize for the lack of brevity in some spots, but we really do appreciate all of your support. And it is you, our user base, that makes Wolverine Airsoft continue on with what we do, and that is to try to lead the HPA innovation in the airsoft industry.